Welcome back. We are talking to Madame Moonbeam, a voodooine. Although I get the impression that she might not be all that authentic. Anyway, she has a snake, and we can ask her about it. Or her, I think, even.
About Grimwald.
What about her?
Where'd you get Grimwald?
She belonged to a traveling reptile show. She was being terribly mistreated, so I offered to buy her. She's named after a spirit guide I had once. The spirit Grimwald was a very powerful female snake priestess in Egyptian times.
Grimwald doesn't sound Egyptian.
I only know what the spirits tell me. Monsieur, I am sure they know better than we.
I've maybe something lost in translation there.
How'd you learn to handle Grimwald?
I told you a great voodoo queen taught me. She learned from Marie Laveau herself.
Ah, fascinating. Would you consider giving me one of Grimwald's scales?
No, I couldn't do that. You might do some gree-gree of your own, no? One must be very careful with such things. Hair clippings, nail parings, and snake scale.
That sucks. Because, I kind of want to see one of the scales and compare it to the one we found at the lake.
How about showing me how you handle Grimwald?
Really? You would like to see me dance, perhaps?
That would be swell.
I won't make you wait, Monsieur Knight.
This ought to be interesting.
No matter what you see, do not be frightened.
I'll give it my best shot.
Oh yeah, that's really frightening. Now she seems a bit distracted by her dancing, which gives us the chance to steal a skill from the shed skin.
Gabriel grabs the shed snake skin while Magenta is otherwise occupied.
They are truly inspiring, isn't it?
That's certainly one word for it.
Not the one I'd use. Let's see. Where's the skin? There it is.
It's the shed skin from Moonbeam's snake.
Can we examine that in somewhat more detail?
Gabriel magnifies the shed skin from Magenta, Moonbeam's snake. The snake scales are hued brown. They don't match the scale from Lake Pontchartrain.
I guess that means that Grimwald is off the suspect list. We still have that snake in the museum though. And who knows what other snakes might show up in this game. Was there anything else to talk
Could
about?
I ask you a few more questions?
Certainly.
About Grimwald.
What about her?
Tell me anything at all.
You have to be careful when handling a snake. They're more delicate than they look.
I'll bet. Tell me anything at all.
Many people are afraid of snakes. Isn't that silly?
Totally.
Sure.
Tell me anything at all.
Snakes shed their skins from time to time. You have to be especially careful of them when they're shedding.
I'll keep it in mind. Tell me anything at all.
Grimwald is very responsive to vibration. She doesn't recognize her name, but if I stomp 3 times, she looks right at me.
If you stomp 3 times, anyone would look at you.
Tell me anything at all.
You have to be careful when handling it.
I'll bet. Nothing. Never mind.
All
I
right.
think that's it. So it's time to leave.
Well, I guess I'll be going now.
Open your mind and heart, and the way will be clear to you.
I'll give it my best shot.
Well, like I said, I forgot to talk about a lot of topics with Dr. John, so let's go back to the museum.
Hello, Dr. John.
Glad you could return to us, Mr. Knight.
Well, Mr. Knight is glad to be back.
Could I ask you some more questions?
Of course. I also find our dialogue stimulating.
Okay, well, we asked him about all the stuff down here, but I kinda neglected to ask him about anything other than voodoo on the main list.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper? I know that they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
So people keep saying.
What makes you think the voodoo murders aren't being done by local practitioners?
Voodoo is a popular boogeyman, Mr. Knight, especially in New Orleans. Anyone can pretend to use it, just as anyone can pretend to be a black belt in karate, and for the same reason, to intimidate. I know voodoo in this city, Mr. Knight, and believe me, it is not about killing. Even the police have stated that the killings have nothing to do with local voodoo.
So you know nothing about the voodoo murders case?
I neither know nor care to know, Mr. Knight. My only possible interest is in how it might affect the public's attitude towards the museum. So far, it has not been an issue. No one has even had the bad taste to bring it up. Until you, that is.
Oops.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States as far as I am concerned.
I think you need to brush up on your geography.
What is it about New Orleans that you so admire?
It has a real culture of its own, Mr. Knight, amid the horrid blandness that is Americana. New Orleans alone has a voice.
Spoken like a true New Orleanian. Do you have anything else to say about New Orleans?
I have already given you my opinion, Mr. Knight.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum's snake, Mr. Knight. They are beautiful creatures, do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Is the snake yours? Do you use it in your practice of voodoo?
I admire the spirit of this snake, Mr. Knight, but snakes like the museums can be quite dangerous to handle.
You didn't really answer my question.
I think I did, Mr. Knight.
I think you didn't, Dr. John.
I'd really like to know more about your snake.
There is really nothing more to say, Mr. Knight.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I do not know the origins of St. John's Eve. I only know that it was a night of ritual long before voodoo came to New Orleans.
What else can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
I am afraid I have little else to say about that subject.
Too bad then. Do you know what Caprice encore means?
Do you have any idea what Caprice encore means?
I fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
Right.
Tell me more about Marie.
You have...
We did already talk about that.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
I used to have some antique African totem masks, but they were on the point of disintegration, so I removed them.
Are you sure you can educate me further about animal masks?
Unfortunately, I do not know much about totem masks. The practice was more African than American, and that is not my area of expertise.
Okay. Thanks. Are you sure you... Okay. Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
No, I have not.
Okay, that takes care of that, I think. For now, anyway. But like I said,
Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Goodbye, Mr. Knight.
I kind of want to talk to Willie in the Dixieland drugstore about the crocodile mask that he has.
Hello.
Ooh, another customer. With the dog.
Bonjour, Monsieur Walker.
Oh, bienvenue, Madame Casino. Comment ça va? How you be feeling today?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Walker, I'm certain someone's buried a sleep note bag somewhere near my steps. I haven't slept a wink in weeks.
Oh, don't that beat all? Well, you're gonna need some easy night candles then.
Do you think that would help? I do hope you're right. I said 3 rosaries this morning for Our Lady's intervention.
Rosaries are good, sure enough. But you burn those candles too and you're gonna whip any old no-sleep gree-gree, I tell you for sure.
Very well, Mr. Walker. Put them on my account and send them round to my house. Oh, and there's another thing. I didn't catch her at it, but I know Mrs. Lefebvre put stomachache powder in my tea at the last meeting of the Creole Grand Dames. Oh, I've been in misery.
You put 9 pinheads up in a little box, add a pinch of graveyard dust, and put it under her front porch step. That'll turn the trick back on Mrs. Lefebvre, and she'll be the one with the bellyache. I have the pins and the dust right here if you want them.
If the Blessed Virgin will grant me her protection, I'll be safe from these practitioners of evil.
Oui, madame. Though it don't hurt to be proactive none neither, now does it?
Naturellement, monsieur. Merci beaucoup.
Mais non, madame. It is nothing. Au revoir.
Au revoir, Monsieur Walker.
Interesting. She seems to be into gree-gree and a lot of other voodoo stuff. And I think Willie is taking shameful advantage of that. But it might be interesting to talk to this lady about her interests at some point. And of course I want to ask Willie about the animal mask, but we will continue in the next video.